Hi, I'm Jason Bryan from the Short-Time Wrestling Podcast and founder of the Mat Talk Podcast Network. Shows on the network are individually owned and operated, and those opinions presented and expressed may not reflect others, the sponsors, patrons, or the parent network. Find more shows about the greatest sport in the world at the Mat Talk Podcast Network at mattalkonline.com.
The mind of Pat Popolizio is a wondrous thing. And for you Pack wrestling fans, you'll get to go inside the mind of the Skip each and every episode here on the Pack Mentality Pop-Ins podcast. Now, here's your host, NC State Director of Athletics Digital Communications, Brian Reinhardt.
NCAA college wrestling season has started as the calendar has now turned past November 1st. And this weekend, the NC State Wolfpack will be in tournament action for the first time. And before the pack hits the mat, we will give you some great insight into the 2021-22 roster on a brand new episode of the Pack Mentality Pop-Ins podcast, episode number 84. I'm your host, NC State Director of Athletics Digital Communications, Brian Reinhardt. And after some more time off, he's making his return to his own podcast, in studio, head coach, Pat Popolizio.
Brian, always great to see you. I appreciate you inviting me in this week. Missed you last week.
Pat, this is a great episode. You weren't on your own podcast last time.
Yeah, I got, I guess Rock took over and it gave what the people wanted.
I was going to say, it was a great episode. We had Rock Harrison from the ACC Network, super senior Thomas Bullard also is on. So fans, go back and listen to those interviews. Pat, you weren't on last time, so you're on the whole thing this time. No guest.
Yep.
Are you ready to carry the load for this podcast?
I'm ready. I need good energy out of you today.
Now, I think the interesting thing is I have the ratings for the last podcast without you, so we'll get the ratings with you on this podcast.
All right, let's see what we can do. Let's see how you promote this.
All about promotion. An awful lot of moving parts right now for the Wolfpack Wrestling program. I think this is the perfect episode since Pat is actually here to break down the roster. But before that, a little bit of news and notes. Preseason came and went. Practice has been ongoing. And the first action gets underway this weekend as Wolfpack will travel down to Charleston, South Carolina, and take part in the Citadel Open. Then next weekend, back up to Raleigh, Wolfpack Wrestling Club Open. Pat, back-to-back tournaments to start the campaign. What is the course of action for which of your guys will be seeing action on the mat these next 2 weekends?
Yeah, it's first of all, it's good to be back. It was great, obviously, having some people come out to our Wrestle Off. So
we're going to get to that.
I know. Don't jump ahead. I'm not going to jump ahead, but we got to talk about that.
See, this is why I want to talk to you before podcast.
Well, you didn't write anything down. You're trying to wing it, and then we run into these problems. So, no, it's good to be able to go back to tournaments and taking a group of guys. So the philosophy for this is to get, our younger guys matches, and younger guys is really those first two groups, basically a freshman from last year and this year. They didn't get to experience a normal season and go to these tournaments and get the matches that they needed. So we're taking a lot of the new guys and freshmen from last year and definitely have some weights that we need to figure out who's going to be the guy. So I think if we go down our lineup right now, there's some weights that are up in the air, and we could talk about that. I don't know what you have on the agenda, but
are you calling last year's freshmen still freshmen?
100%? They know it, and they're training like it. They know they got to get matches. It was great experience for those guys to be in, take Ed Scott, AJ Kovacs, guys like that to get, and Isaac to get that mat time in the limelight. But now getting, 20 matches in the season before we get into the depth of our schedule, I think is going to be critical for their development.
Gearing up here for the first home duel. That's going to be Sunday, November 21st versus West Virginia in Reynolds Coliseum. By the way, ticket sales have been great for season tickets and even better for lower level seats, but fans can still purchase ahead of time on gopack.com and, of course, at Reynolds before any match. But, Pat, these next 2 weekends are going to be a really good indicator of which wrestlers will take the mat versus West Virginia. When does the discussion of redshirting come into play during your season? As both of these first two tournaments, they're opens, so everybody can wrestle. But has there been talk about redshirts yet?
Yeah, I think we're going to have 6 or 7 guys right now fall under that category. And, week to week, we'll figure it out and decide who's going to be the guy. That's the whole point of these open tournaments, is kind of let them go on their own at first, and then we can reevaluate where we're at and what we need to do. So we're going to send about 6 or 7 guys right now unattached and take it from there week to week right now.
And obviously those true freshmen last year, they could still redshirt this year because last year's eligibility didn't count, correct?
Yep. Yeah. And, guy that could fall under that category right now is Ed Scott. He'll go probably the first 2 weekends unattached, and then come West Virginia dual meet, we'll figure out what we're going to do.
And just because they're unattached, they can still wrestle in duels during the upcoming season.
Unattached?
No, yeah, they can still wrestle in duels.
You can pull a kid out of red shirt. Someone out of red shirt anytime. You can't wrestle and then put a kid in the red shirt. So that's the luxury we have, is let's start these first 2 tournaments with these guys redshirting, and then as we get to next month or the end of the month, we'll figure out what we're going to do.
The Kevin Jack rule.
Yep. You're never safe until the season's over.
So we're glad that we're inside today. I'm still coming back up at temperature. We were outside for about 5 hours for their Wrestle Offs on Saturday, but many Wolfpack fans wandered over to I keep saying RBC Center. It is now the PNC Arena. I haven't gotten that check though to switch names. I'm still RBC. RBC is a bank up in Canada.
Yeah,
it used to be.
Is that where it
used to be the RBC?
Maybe we got to update our banking here.
Yeah.
You can get the credit union.
I am a state employee.
Yes,
credit union. Okay,
maybe get sponsorship from them.
No one wants this. I tell you what, people reach out saying they want to sponsor this podcast, but no one ever steps up and does it.
Well, eventually we'll get it. Keep trying.
Little pet peeve of mine here. Yeah. Anyway, a lot of fans came to PNC Arena ahead of the football game. We had a great mix, wrestling fans. Then there were just a bunch of tailgaters that wanted to come in and check out what was going on. What were your impressions of the Wrestle Offs this past weekend?
Yeah, anytime you're in-house competing with your own teammate, they can get a little tedious. So it was good to just get these guys close to their weight and then get them a match. As you can see, we mixed and matched weights. There weren't guys that are going to be at their exact weight. I was more into just getting guys competition, get them ready, see where their conditioning is at, see, some guys had to lose a little more weight than others. So it was kind of a feel. And then next week we'll really get into, this week, the Citadel, we'll get into, who's going to be the guy at certain weights. So
I was going to say, we called them Wrestle Offs because we had to name them something, but I would say the Citadel Open is more of your Wrestle Offs.
That's going to decide a lot. And it is. It's hard for these guys to go out and want to put a lot of points up on the board against their own teammate. And furthermore, a lot of them are wrestling every day, and that's why they look the way they do, is because they know everyone's skill set, where they're good, and they stay away from those positions. So it was good. It was good to have people come by, watch. Obviously we had some official visits going on at the same time. So there was a lot of action, and then followed up by the football game. It was a busy weekend, but a great weekend.
It's cold.
Not really. I mean, let's face it. You're from West Virginia.
You kept moving where that sun was.
I'll give you cold when we get on the road here in a couple months and we head up north, or when we go up to Pittsburgh in February. That'll be cold, Brian.
So we got Jersey in January.
That'll be cold.
Pittsburgh, February. Detroit in March.
That'll be cold.
Yeah.
So I don't want to hear you complaining anymore.
Wrestling, I tell you what. Yeah. You guys don't like any warm weather.
It was when the sun was out. It was pretty warm.
Yeah, when the sun was out, but where I was sitting, the sun wasn't out.
Yeah. Well.
Before we break down the roster, message boards have really picked up the excitement of NC State wrestling recruiting news. Signing day is next week, so we can't name names yet, but obviously one of the top classes in the country will be coming in. I know the focus is on the upcoming season right now, but when you sign a class, this is 2 years of work. You guys have built relationships with these guys and their family. How excited is the program to get this new crop signed, sealed, and delivered?
Yeah, it's going to be a big day for us getting all these NLIs in. I really am excited for the future of what we have as far as talent, character, culture, everything that we've been working towards to build our program. I think is, going to take that next step with this group of kids that'll be coming here. So I'm excited to actually be able to officially announce it and go through all the, the compliance side of things. So that day's coming here, like you said, next week, and it'll be a big week for us, and continue to move forward with the next group of guys. That's the thing with recruiting; it never stops. So as soon as you get these guys here, you're on to the next group, and it's part of the process. But right now, it's been a team effort from our staff and the guys here, and the surrounding support staff of our fans. So it's an exciting time to be part of NC State wrestling.
And as you mentioned, a bunch of recruits were in town this past weekend. Took them to the Wrestle Offs, took them over to the football game. But after a year of not having recruits being able to take official visits, how great is it now that you and your staff, you get to show off the university, you get to show off Raleigh, and you probably build some more relationships with these kids when they're actually on campus?
Yeah, and I think it's just as rewarding for the kids. They put the work in to get noticed, and they want to go through these official visits, and it is good to see that it's exciting for them. And then obviously, for us, it's important to continue to find the right fit type of kid that we're looking for. And these visits say a lot. That's the part of it is our guys will be like, hey, this kid fits in. Hey, this kid doesn't. And we rely heavily on our guys to help us out when it comes down to character type things behind the scenes. And for the most part, we've been doing very well on that side of things, and it's starting to pay off for us big time.
All right, here's a kiss up first.
All right, let's go.
What's the go-to restaurant?
The go-to restaurant. So we've been going down to Tobacco Road. It's been a great atmosphere for us.
Tobacco Road's not a sponsor for the podcast right now.
Well, maybe we can get them to be.
I was going to say.
We jump around different spots. We actually cater a lot in-house, and then we've been doing a team meal over at my house, bring the guys in.
So wrestlers do eat on these visits?
We eat a ton. Okay. So funny story is one of the kids was actually going to wrestle the following weekend. It came on his visit, and I was watching him eat, and I'm like, there's no way he's making this weight class next week. And he was signed up for the tournament. Sure enough, I get a call the day before. And he's like, hey, just giving you a heads up. Weight was a little out of check, so I'm going to cancel this tournament. And I was like, yeah, I saw what you were eating on your visit. So
could be a recruiting advantage. Yeah. You don't want other schools to see the kid in action.
You always complain that we don't eat on the road. So
we do not.
We make up for it on our visits.
Yeah. Man, I missed out on that.
Yeah, well, we're going to get you down to weight here in the next couple months.
Turning ahead for this year, back-to-back ACC championships, some great preseason accolades. I know you hate anything preseason rankings or anything but NC State is number 5 in the first NWCA coaches poll. And Pat, how do you kind of balance that with your guys? Obviously, they know the accolades are out there. They know the expectations, but the season hasn't even started yet. What's the balance for a coaching staff?
Yeah, just let's come in and go to work. We're at that point now. Guys understand, the expectations for our program and what we're trying to accomplish here. And that's a good thing. Guys want to produce. They want to win. Don't like losing. So, that I guess it just an appreciation for their hard work when you're in that situation, getting ranked. And then the community and the support we're getting right now, people showing up to our dual meets. This all matters. It plays out in the recruiting process and also the success of a team. So we got to be the total package of a program right now and keep developing and keep producing. And this is just part of the process.
All right. You ready to break down this roster?
Let's go.
I think we should get wild and start at 125.
All right.
We should just do random weights sometime, but that would just confuse you too.
Not at all. I got it all.
Now you don't have your computer on. You don't have anything in front of you. So fans, pray for us. Here we go. 125, Jacob Camacho. Obviously he won the ACC title 2 years ago. I think it's safe to say he was a little disappointed about his finish last year, but he is back at 125. And now you have 2 true freshmen in the room too.
Yep.
Greensboro kid, James Joplin has come from Greensboro and up from New York. Wow. How do you say that? How do you say that hometown?
Shenandoah. See, I don't even need.
Wow.
How do you like that?
All right. Steve-O, your hometown. But 2 freshmen with Camacho working in the room right now with Steve-O Poulin. Kind of talk about 125.
Yeah. It was a much needed addition for, one, you always need depth, but 2, we got guys now that I think where Camacho's at in his career, he's knocking on the door to be one of the best kids in the country. And, Steve-O coming in here with the accolades that he has, there's high expectations for him. And, definitely can see it in the room when those two are wrestling each other. They're pushing each other, and that's what you want. To be an elite program, an elite individual, you need somebody constantly pushing you, and I think those two guys are going to help each other tremendously. And James Joplin, you watch him wrestle, he goes pretty hard, and he's developing pretty fast as well. And I think this is going to be a big year for him to get that experience and wrestle some of the best kids in the country. But between the three of those guys, we're going to have some good depth there, and obviously two guys that are a little more established right now. And I'm excited to see these guys get out and start competing against outside competition. And we're going to see that this weekend with Steve-O and Joplin. Camacho will not wrestle, but it'll be good for those two guys to get those matches in.
I guess I should note, there's some weights here. Guys are kind of in between weight classes. They could go up, they could go down. We're
going to jockey for the first month.
So this isn't a standard weight by weight preview.
No.
Yes, we're just naming names right now.
Yep.
133, two-time NCAA qualifier, Jarrett Trumbull. And it looks like he might be trying to go down. He was at 141 last year. Kai Arini is going to be down there too.
Yep.
You brought in freshman Skylar Smith. He could be that 33, 41.
Yeah.
But 33 is going to be in action at the Citadel Open right now. So just talk about the competition for the 33 spot.
We have two guys that can wrestle, and that's for sure. Two different styles. So I think that you're going to see a little bit of mixing and matching, but definitely nice to have those two guys there, because you go back to what Trombley's accomplished. He's an established veteran for us, has some good results, and is closing the door to be, a guy that making his first placement at the national tournament. And then you have Kai, who, as a true freshman, went out to the scuffle. I think that was his breakthrough tournament, had some great wins there, and then went up to 41 this past year. And, after we analyzed where we were at, we realized, he can be great at the right weight, and cutting down to 33 isn't that hard for him to do. He's been really focused and disciplined. I've seen a lot of growth out of him off the mat. Even some of the stuff that you've done with him, Art, is.
I was going to say, have you noticed that everybody has a haircut over the last couple of weeks?
Yeah, so he's pretty talented. He's artistic, does hair. Even does makeup. I saw his Halloween costume, so I'll give him that one. So, yeah, I'm excited. Both those guys are going to be extremely important to what we accomplish this year. And as time goes on, we're going to see who's the guy at the end of the year. But I feel like we're in a good spot there at 33.
I think 141 is probably one of your most inexperienced weight classes.
Yep.
Obviously, Tariq is going up, so he vacates. But coming up, freshman Ryan Jack, he was at 133 last year, coming up to 141. Redshirt freshman Hunter Lewis was at 49, going down to 141. And then you got some guys who have been here for a couple of years, Papsy, Urqueza. So 141, still some questions left there, I would assume.
I think right now, we're going to see as time goes on who's going to be the guy. Right now, Ryan Jack, I think he had a great showing in that match with Hunter, because Hunter, has got some really good experience from last year and some key wins, two different complete styles of wrestling. So I like where we're at there. I want to continue to see maturity out of both guys. Anytime you have inexperienced guys, I think it's going to be a little bit of a roller coaster, and I think we're going to see that this year. We're going to see some really good results and maybe some matches that we thought we would win that got away from us. But that comes with time, and that's going to be the biggest thing right now, is being patient for that weight and seeing who steps up to the plate and makes that happen. I also like where we're at with the depth, with all those guys you talked about, and throw Luke Ahlberg in there. I think it's going to make things pretty interesting. And then, a lot of those guys did squeeze down because Tariq went up. So it kills the depth that we have at 49, but you can always go up in weight. It's hard to shoot down, week to week. So we're going to rely heavily on those guys to back us up a little bit at 49 as well.
I think it should be noted, freshman Ryan Jack does not look like freshman Kevin Jack.
No, they are definitely built a little different, but
same weight class.
Both know how to wrestle, little different styles too. So it'll be fun. I always like that dynamic of a brother on staff while the one's wrestling. So, it's good for Kevin. It'll stress him out through the year.
I was going to say, how does that work out, brother on staff?
Well,
it's got to be a little different.
You got the whole Danbury thing going too. I notice every time someone from Danbury is wrestling, Kevin's a little more tense, and then throw his brother in the lineup. That's going to make for a lot of excitement there.
Danbury connection.
Yep, we got it going.
I bet I got a phone call. I got a phone call from a Danbury number the other day. It wasn't in my phone. I was like, I have 5 Danbury phone numbers in my phone. I don't know who this is. So
good.
I thought it was interesting. They tried to sell me something I didn't buy.
No, I wouldn't either.
Okay, up at 149, first of the super seniors. I guess I should ask this question now before. I know you don't know specifically, but what is the plan with these 4 returning guys? I assume they're not going to probably compete every weekend, but what's kind of your early season plan if everything plays out well?
Yeah, we got to get them the minimum matches. Some will wrestle a little more than others, but I think the reality is these guys are coming back because they wanted to compete in the ACCs and NCAAs, and obviously some big duels that we're going to have. I think that's the important part for these guys. So, going to these open tournaments and wrestling in certain dates, I don't know if that's something that you're going to see a lot of, but anytime we need to bring our A team out, these guys will be in our lineup. So we just want to be smart with them. They got a lot of experience and a lot of matches under their belt, so they don't need a ton. They just need to be ready to go come ACCs and NCAAs and any big matches that we want to make sure we're ready to go. They'll be in it.
You talk about A team. Tariq Wilson going up to 149, 3rd different weight class, 3rd place finish at 33, 3rd place finish at 141. Wants one more year. How excited are you to see him in the room? Everybody's been talking about what a preseason he had this year.
Yeah, he's the best I've ever seen him wrestling, and I think it's fun to watch these guys. Even talking to Hayden yesterday, he said, this is the best I've ever felt. And I was like, well, it's the best I've ever seen you wrestle too, because these guys are now focused more in just training, being in great shape, being strong, as opposed to watching in years past, it was a lot of extra cardio on them, which it takes a toll, and, being disciplined with their diet. Definitely see a lot more smiles on these older guys. And once you've established yourself and you know how to wrestle, I don't think the weight cut and the diet is as important as it is to be healthy, happy, and just come in every day and work hard. And that's what we're getting out of these guys. And they're at their natural weight. And sometimes, yes, kids do they got to drop down for whatever reason it is. Sometimes some kids do have to go a weight class that maybe, they don't want to be at. And that's just the dynamic of finding their way in our lineup, or, sometimes some kids lack a little bit of strength, but that's not the case with all these guys. Watching them wrestle right now, I think it's a smart move, and it's going to pay off for us down the road.
Tariq enjoys his summers, it seems.
Yes. No matter what we do, no matter what weight it is, he's always 20 over. So It's like, all right, he's not an issue being size-wise for 49.
Pair of brothers. I know they're in different weight classes, but I want to get them both in here. Matt Fields, Derek Fields, both going to provide depth.
Yep.
Matt at 49. Derek probably coming in that 65, maybe
57, 65. We'll see how it plays out. But I was very impressed with his performance with Thomas Buller, because you watch these guys in the room and sometimes you don't get a good idea, judge on where they're at, and then they go out and compete and you see a whole different level. And I think that's the luxury of getting some higher level talent in our room right now, is when they go out to compete, you see the next level that they can make that jump. And I saw a little bit of that out of our true freshman, and I like that. And I'm very curious to see him compete this weekend at the Citadel Open. We expect big things out of him. That's why we brought him here. And, finding him in our lineup, we just got to figure out what weight that's going to be. But right now we'll probably wrestle him as a red shirt. So when needed, we'll have that option.
You talked about Bullard. Thomas Bullard was on the last podcast. Pat, you should listen to. It was a pretty good interview.
Yep.
He's going to try. You never know. We'll see. But he's going to try to go down to 157, try to get weight. But as you say, it's going to be kind of open-ended, because even if he can get down to weight, doesn't mean that's going to be the best weight for him.
Yeah, we got some guys that can wrestle at 57 right now. And that's the luxury of having this time, is to see where we're at, give him a shot. I already feel good where he's at. If he stays up at 65, you can look and see what we got. I think it helps us if he is up. But at the end of the day, part of him coming back is so he can accomplish his personal goals. And if he thinks 57, that might be better. I at least want him to touch down one time and see how he feels. And, who knows, maybe we get close and it's something he doesn't want to do, or he does. That's the luxury of having these open tournaments and giving it a shot. Regardless of what weight goes, I know we're going to have success with Thomas. You know what you're getting. He's going to wrestle hard and has 6 years of college experience. So that's a dangerous combo right there. But, sometimes it's one of those where as good as he is on top, maybe that leverage is a little more dangerous down a weight, as we all know, that plays a role into success sometimes. So that's kind of the thought process behind there.
He is not going to Citadel, though, correct?
He is not. He'll be at our Wolfpack Open right now, and the plan is to try to get him down to 57 for that.
So in season, when you're still deciding weight classes, when do you kind of need to make a definite answer?
You never do until the ACC tournament. So you can do whatever you want to do. The tricky part is you got to have the 8 matches to trigger, if you ever needed to get as far as qualifying the spots for the conference.
Is that 8 at the weight class?
8 at the weight class. 16 triggers your RPI. So you really need 16, but if you're in the national rankings pretty high, the magic number is going to be 8 matches then. And where we're at, our higher ranked guys only need that 8 match count. So we're going to hit that with all of them. The younger guys definitely going to need that 16 match with the RPI so they can qualify the spot for the conference.
So still staying at 157 just in case. You also have 2 freshmen who were both here last year, both saw a lot of action.
Yep.
You kind of touched on Ed Scott already, but Kovacs also saw a lot of action.
Both guys have improved
good
tremendously.
depth, and they had a pretty good match there at the Wrestle Off.
I was very impressed with both guys where they're at. Ed Scott has made a huge jump. He's ready to go this year. So he's a guy that I think come the end of the year, he's going to be right in the mix of being one of the best guys at that weight. He just needs to get those matches in. So the plan is to right now take him to these first 2 tournaments as a redshirt, and then we're going to see how things play out. But there's no doubt in my mind Ed Scott's going to be a 4-year starter for us and competing to win a national title in those years. And Kovacs, is right there. Whether he stays at 57, goes up to 65, they're both going to find their way in our lineup with due time because they're that good.
I know it depends on the wrestler, but is that an easy conversation if you're a starter 1 year to ask a guy to redshirt the next year?
These guys want to compete, and that's the thing with Ed is he wants to compete. And, what's nice about wrestling is as coaches, you can put these guys out there and let them wrestle each other to see who's better. And it put it in their hands. Not necessarily wrestle off, but maybe in an open tournament, maybe Thomas and Ed Scott wrestle each other, and it makes it real easy to say, hey, this guy won this tournament and this guy finished here, so this is going to be the guy that we're going with. It's not like certain sports where coach has to pick the starter. So yes, we get the pick at the end of the day, but these guys get to put the results up. So we're going to figure that out in the next couple of weeks.
65 seems to be another weight. Lots of options, still very much wide open.
Yeah.
Redshirt sophomore Alex Faison, got freshman Donald Cates. We talked about Fields already up there, and then freshman Jake Knoll. Him and Faison really went at it at the Wrestle Off.
I was
65, very wide open.
Very impressed with both guys. Faison made that cut down for the first time. Been really disciplined outside the room. You can tell his commitment to wanting to be the guy and start for us. He's got a lot of matches under his belt, so he's going to be in a lot of our lineups this year. And then you got a guy like Jake Knoll, who's new, super talented, as you saw, very dangerous wrestler. And then Cates was out last week with a minor injury. He'll be back hopefully this week for the Citadel. I'm excited to see all those guys thrown in a weight class and see which one comes out on top. But either way, I feel good with where we're at. It's going to be young, inexperienced as far as starting in our lineup goes. But no matter who we throw out there, is going to be, a guy that can win and produce. And we always have options with other guys moving up. So we're going to keep everyone motivated and keep figuring out who the guy is at a weight class. That's one that I feel like is going to be up for grabs for a little while until someone establishes himself.
I could probably make that way if I get a week. I got
about a month of travel.
I need a couple days to make that, but I'm close.
Yep.
All right. So 174, 184, obviously with the Hidleys. Everything's been said about both of them, but let me ask you, Hayden going up 2 weight classes.
Yep.
What's the feel now that it's been a couple months?
He looks great. I'm glad he's back. I'll rival him against anybody in the country, as he knows how to wrestle and very dangerous right now. We were just talking about it yesterday. He's like, I feel faster than ever. And I was like, well, you are, because you're used to wrestling down to 57. Now you go up 2 weight classes. The speed is definitely a big difference. Strength is never an issue with him. As you can see when he wrestles, he's put on 20 pounds of muscle. So he's not going to get pushed around at all. I'm excited to see him wrestle some of the best guys in the country. We got to see a little bit at the Open. The weight won't be a problem at all. And he's happy, and he's in a good spot mentally, and it's time to let things fly.
74 is pretty loaded this year nationally, so it looks like one of the better weights to watch. Trent up at 84. He had a great offseason of freestyle. Have you seen that improvement helping his folk style here for college?
Yeah, he looks great. His commitment to the sport, I think, is showing. I think he made another jump wrestling all the summer and then going to the U.S. Open and beating the guys that he did. I think shows that he's ready to make that jump to win a national title this year. And his work ethic, I mean, it's hard for him to stay where he's at. He's constantly training, constantly studying the sport, and it's going to be hard for him to not be the guy this year. I think he's going to be in position to compete with, there's obviously a couple guys coming back wherever they got him right now. I don't think it's going to be where he finishes. He's determined to win his national title and not take a L at all to anyone. He's one of the most competitive people I've ever seen. It doesn't matter what we're doing. He's going to win and find a way. And I think you're going to see that this year. And his leadership skills speak for themselves. That's why we're in the position where we're at. We got a lot of great leaders with him being out in front right now.
Another super senior. He's been at 3 different weight classes, 74, 84, 97.
Yep.
Sitting here in the preseason, where do you see and what do you see of Nick Arenan's role?
Yeah, he's a guy that came back because he wants to help our team. He loves wrestling. He's been, in a tough spot with really good guys all the way up and down our lineup. But yeah, he'll wrestle in and out of the lineup right now at 84. He's down to his natural weight. I think he's, back down to weighing about 190. Looks good, looks lean. You saw him wrestle off. I thought he looked pretty good against a true freshman who was pretty talented too. So, we're going to have a lot of good depth between Renan, Joey Milano, Dylan, Brock, Christian Knopp. I mean, we got a good group of guys in there right now to all help each other and push each other. So I like where we're at on the backside of our lineup, which we're going to keep talking about.
Thank you.
Yep.
Going up to 197, Isaac Trumbull's a true freshman.
Yep.
Junior, Jacob Ferreira, he's been in the program for 4 years. So you have a young guy, an older guy. It's got to be a good dynamic in the room and good options at 97.
100%. Throw Christian Knopp and then Brock in there too. You got 4 guys right now that can all wrestle at a pretty high level. Isaac, I think, made a really good jump wrestling in the juniors, and then we threw him into the seniors. I know everyone, was wondering why we did both, and it was really to get him qualified for the trials, which I think he learned a lot and got a lot of confidence out of wrestling in that tournament. Regardless if you win or lose, when you're competing at that level, you're going to grow. And he did that with some good wins and actually some great training over the summer. And I think you saw it in his Wrestle Off. His top game is very dangerous. His defense is about as good as it can get. And we know we got to continue to work our offense. And that's coming with time. And he's one of those guys that needs matches right now. And I think come end of the year, he's going to be a guy that is going to improve tremendously just by getting the mat time. And his work ethic is as good as anybody I've seen in our time here at NC State.
I think he got taller too.
Probably. Was he 6'7" now?
Going up to heavyweight, Tyree Houghton's moving up to heavyweight. Owen, he redshirted. He's been in the program for 2 years. And Deontay Wilson's here. I think everybody's eyes kind of open up. Owen got that last-second takedown on Deontay at the Wrestle Offs. Heavyweight looks like it might be a little bit open now too.
Well, let's go back to last year during COVID when we did the Wrestle Offs. I think Owen lost on a stall call because his shoe came untied. So there's no surprise in the way those guys compete with each other. They're both neck and neck. I think the difference from last year is we didn't really have a chance to go to tournaments and establish who our guy was going to be. This year we're going to have time to do it. And I feel good where we're at, regardless if it's Deontay or Owen. I think we're going to have a heavyweight that can wrestle with the majority of the guys in the country and be one of the better guys. And, we're at a point where we gotta start scoring points at the NCAA tournament at heavyweight. And I feel like we're going to have somebody now ready to do that.
Pat, great roster breakdown. I think your coaching job might be a little bit different this year. You're going to have a lot more decisions about who to put us in this lineup than some previous years.
Definitely.
But you got to like that challenge because you're developing the depth.
Yeah, and it is. It gets tough. The last thing we want to do is pick who the starter is. I think we saw that last year with 197. It's tough to do, but it's wrestling, being a sport where you guys can compete against each other. At the end of the day, try to put it in everyone, the guys' hands at the weights that they're going to be at and let them decide it. I'm glad this year we were able to go to some tournaments, get some outside competition, and be able to compare results, as we go through Citadel, our Open, and then, the scuffle. If we got two weights right now, or a couple weights where guys are neck and neck with each other, let's see who places higher at the national, not the national tournament, but nationally ranked guys that are going to be at these tournaments. They'll figure it out, and come ACCs, we'll have our A team out there. We're going to put 10 guys out that represent NC State and wrestle extremely hard and can produce.
Exciting time of the year. Can't wait. Everybody's been waiting for wrestling season. I know you're pumped up. Are you going to the Citadel this? You weren't on the
I'm going to be watching it on Flow.
You weren't
on the
I'm
going.
You weren't on the travel list.
Come on. Who wouldn't want to go to Charleston? They got good food there, and then plus we get to wrestle.
I got the travel list. You were not on it.
Yeah.
So
I know you're not going.
I'm glad you dropped in that news organization.
What do you got, a football game?
Pat, thanks for letting me set up in your office. Thanks for jumping on your own podcast. We're going to be doing these more often. But wrestling season's here. The excitement was in your voice. Great episode.
Thank you, Brian. Always good to see you.
Great sign off. Thank you. I want to thank everybody for listening today. This is your Pack Mentality Pop-Ins podcast covering all things NC State wrestling. Until next time, Wolfpack wrestling fans, go Pack.
The Pack Mentality Pop-Ins podcast is produced by the Mat Talk Podcast Network. For more wrestling podcasts, go to mattalkonline.com.